Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 4 Ounce Fanatic channel. Today we'll be breaking down UFC 321, Aspinall versus Gane, live on pay-per-view from Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Hopefully we're going to get a few more picks right this time around. Last week, obviously, I did absolutely fucking horrible on picks. I went 10-3. Something I just want to quickly say about that main event. Obviously, I picked RDR. He gassed out. He looked terrible. Brendan Allen gets the upset win. One thing I just wanted to note about that is that Brendan Allen, he does tend to, all of his losses, he does tend to fade. And, what I'm trying to say is a lot of his losses are probably due to the mental side of his game, where he struggles with the IQ or there's a lot of pressure on him. We saw that in the Imavov fight and the Fluffy Hernandez fight too. Obviously, Fluffy had already beaten him previously, and the Imavov fight, I think he was fighting away from home. It was a big moment for him. I think it just got to him. But in this fight against Arya, he had no pressure on him. No one expected him to win, and I think that his mind was in a really positive place. He was the underdog, and I think he had this mindset of like, all right, I'll prove you guys wrong. I'll fucking show you guys what's up. And yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Brendan Allen. He looked great. He made a fool out of me. I really didn't think he was going to win that, and a lot of people, I think, didn't think he was going to win that. So yeah, just a quick shout out to Brendan Allen before we get into these fights. But without further ado, let's start breaking down and predicting these fights for UFC 321. Excuse me. First fight of the night, Jacqueline Amorim versus Mizuki. Not too much to say about this fight. Amorim, she's a strong grappler. She's got good ground and pound. She lost a UFC debut to Sam Hughes, but since then she's been on a 4-fight win streak. I believe all submissions. Against some decent competition. She's been Vanessa Demopoulos, Poliana Viana. So yeah, she does have a few decent wins on her resume. And she's going up against Mizuki Inoue, who is, I believe, quite a huge underdog. Yeah, plus 330 underdog for good reason. She is very inactive. She's 1-1 in the UFC. She lost to Amanda Lemos about 5 years ago. Then she took 3 years off. Came back about 2 years ago, got a win over Hannah Goldie in the Apex. Not the most exciting fight, not the most exciting fighter, but she's a good grappler. She's tough. Like I said, more of a grappler. But yeah, the inactivity is really what is going to play a factor in this fight, I think, including the momentum of Amorim. She's won 4 fights in the last, year and a half, I believe. She's pretty active, and Mizuki is not. And also it appears she's missed weight here. I didn't even realize that. She's missed weight by 3 pounds. So she has been fined some of her purse, obviously. Don't think that's going to play a factor in the fight. A lot of the times we see when people miss weight, they end up winning the fight due to the weight advantage. Not a good look for Mizuki. I do think she's going to be tough enough to survive to a decision. So my pick will be Jacqueline Amorim by, unanimous decision, 30-27. I think she's going to win every round and, slide comfortably to a decision. I could see her getting a late TKO, perhaps, maybe in round 3, round 2. I do think, anyway, especially having missed weight, will be tough enough to survive to a decision. Second fight of the night, we got Azat Maksum versus Mitch Raposo. Obviously, Azat Maksum, he was coming into the UFC 14-0. Got a nice little dub over Tyson Nam, and in his last 2 fights, he's dropped 2. Dropped 2 back-to-back. But they were the top-level guys, Charles Johnson and Tagir Ulanbekov, who were both ranked in the top 15 of the flyweight division, so nothing to be ashamed of. I think especially the Charles Johnson loss has aged pretty well. Obviously, he's coming off that amazing comeback KO over Lonnie Kavanaugh in Shanghai a few months ago. I do think both of his losses really have aged fairly well. And the thing that I also want to put out there is that, he made both of those fights really competitive, the last 2 fights that he's fought, despite them being losses by decision. He did drop Charles Johnson, I believe it was the first round. And yeah, he had a really competitive fight with Tagir Ulanbekov, who's a really talented guy at flyweight. A lot of people, or some people, were saying that he actually could have won the fight. I think it was a 29-28 to Ulanbekov, but he definitely won a round. They got really scrappy at the end of the fight too. It was an exciting back and forth fight. So he is having really competitive fights with the top 15 of the division. So yeah, that's something to note. And he's going up against Mitch Raposo. Yeah, he's a good boxer, but he's also on a 2-fight losing streak against much lower competition, to be honest. Andre Lima and Sumu Daiji. Although I do think that Lima may be ranked at this point in his career, and Sumu Daiji obviously used to be ranked. But yeah, both guys are definitely not on the level of the competition that Maxim has been facing. Yeah, he's got fast hands. Not too much to note about Mitch Raposo. I do think this is a bit of a layup fight for Maxim. I would be quite surprised if he loses this fight. So yeah, I am going to pick Azat Maxim to get back on track with a 20. I think it's going to be a 30-27 decision win. I do think he's going to use his grappling a bit more in this fight compared to his last two, as Mitch Raposo is a bit more of a striker. He's got a few KOs in his record, and he's a smaller guy for flyweight. He's not as physical, I don't think, especially when it comes to the grappling side of things. So I am going to be picking Azat Maxim by unanimous decision. Third fight of the night, we got the Battle of the Blobs, baby. Let's go. Hamdi the Hammer Abdelwahab versus Chris Barnett. Um, yeah, this is a big fight, if you know what I mean. This is a big fight right here in the heavyweight division. We got Hamdi Abdelwahab. He's 2-1 in the UFC, although I believe his first fight, his debut, excuse me, was overturned to a no contest for using performance-enhancing drugs. It's like, I don't know. I'm just gonna leave that how it is. I'm just gonna move on from that. Yeah, he's just your standard wrestler boxer type. He is coming off a loss to Mo Usman, which is really not that good of a look. I mean, Mo Usman, I don't rate him at all in the heavyweight division. I think he's pretty bad. And seeing that Abdel Wahab lost fairly dominantly to him by decision a few months ago, yeah, not a good look. Yeah, and he's going up against Chris Barnett. Yeah, this guy's just full of beans, man. Full of charisma. He's a TKD guy, Taekwondo guy, so he's a pretty good striker. He's super athletic for his size and his physique. So yeah, he does actually struggle against wrestlers, grappler types, especially taller guys. And I mean, pretty much, I think everyone he's facing at heavyweight is going to be taller than him. He's 5'9", which is pretty much unheard of. Um, but yeah, I think that could play a factor in this fight. I mean, Hamdi Abdelwahab is a pretty good wrestler. We haven't seen that much of it in his UFC run so far, but he does have good wrestling credentials. He's a big physical guy at heavyweight, so I do think that could play a factor. I was going to pick Abdelwahab to win by kind of like a boring 29-28 wrestling decision, just take him down, hold him on the ground. But sometimes you got to put the underdog. Yeah, and Barnett is a +30 underdog. I just had to make sure of that. But I'm actually going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to pick Barnett by round 2 TKO. Like I said, he's a super dynamic striker for his physique. And yeah, I think he could get a bit of an upset KO here, or TKO. Obviously, he's got the crazy spinning kicks. That's like his ace in the hole, essentially. I do think he could land one of those and rock Abdelwahab. He's quite slow on the feet, doesn't have the best defense. So yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and pick Barnett by round 2 TKO. Fight number 4 of the night, we've got Nathaniel Wood versus Jose Delgado, who is representing Mexico in this fight. I actually thought he was Bolivian, but that's beside the point. Now, this is a pick'em fight, and I think the odds makers, excuse me, have got it bang on here. Yeah, I do think this is going to be a super close fight. Yeah, Nathaniel Wood. He's a technical, well-rounded guy. He is definitely a bit of a decision merchant. He hasn't had a finish in about 6 or 7 years. Yeah, I believe his last finish was in 2019. Submission against, I can't even remember who it was, but yeah, that just shows how long it's been since he's got a finish. But people sleep on Nathaniel Wood, man. He's on a 2-fight win streak against two tough opponents, tough veterans, Daniel Pineda and Morgan Charrier. Um, yeah, so he does have a bit of momentum heading into this fight. He did drop a tough loss to Muhammad Naimov about 2 years ago, which I think is his last loss. But I thought that was a bit of a robbery. Naimov was grabbing the cage, he was doing a bunch of fouls, they didn't take any points, and he ended up losing by decision. So yeah, people do underrate Nathaniel Wood. I think because he's not the most exciting guy. He's very technical, but he does win by decision majority of the time. Like I said, he hasn't had a finish in about 6 or 7 years. But he is going up against Jose Miguel Delgado. This is his third fight in the UFC. I do think this is a big step up in competition, though. I think this is a great matchup. Obviously, like I said, it's a pick'em with the odds. Yeah, I think Wood's going to be a great test for Delgado, and I think it'll be a good feather in his cap if he does get the win, especially by finish. Then we can start moving him up to, top high level guys. And if he wins this fight by finish, I do think they'll probably give him a ranked opponent, or he'll be at least one fight away from getting a ranked opponent. He's a super exciting striker. He's dynamic. He has good knees, good Muay Thai. Obviously, he's training at the MMA lab with Benson Henderson. So yeah, he's pretty dynamic. He does have pretty good grappling too, but he likes to strike. Obviously, in his last fight, he had a really impressive 20-second KO against the undefeated Hyder Emil. Yeah, it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be pretty close. The only thing that stands out for me is he's a lot less experienced than Nathaniel Wood. I mean, he was an amateur when Wood was fighting in the UFC against, guys like John Dodson, people like that. I don't think Delgado is going to get the finish. I do think Nathaniel Wood is a really tough guy. He's really well-rounded. But he tends to struggle when he's not fighting at home, especially against Abu Dhabi. Obviously, we saw that in the Muhammad Naimov fight. He had a bit hard luck. So I'm going to pick Jose Delgado to win by 29-28 decision. I think it's going to be a split decision. I think it's going to be a close fight. Both guys are going to, mix it up. I do think Wood will be able to take him down and hold him there for a little bit, but Delgado will get up, land some big shots. Both guys are going to get scrappy in the pocket. And yeah, I am picking Jose Miguel Delgado to win by a close 29-28 split decision. Moving on to fight number 5 of the night. Excuse me, Walter Walker, bro, against Louis Sutherland, making his UFC debut. Both guys had fights cancelled in the last few weeks. Walker was supposed to fight against Mo Usman himself in Rio 2 weeks ago. Fight got cancelled, and then I believe Usman tested positive for some sort of performance-enhancing supplement, which is going to leave a sour taste in the UFC's mouth. And yeah, he's going up against Sutherland, who was booked against Justin Taffer in UFC Perth about 3 weeks ago. So both guys have had fights cancelled. So yeah, relative to the opponents that they're facing, they're having short camps, obviously fighting each other. Walter Walker, he's 3-1 in the UFC. All 3 wins by heel hook. We all know the story. He's changed his nickname to the Foot Hunter too, which I thought was quite funny. But it's going to be a closer fight than people think. The only thing that stands out to me again with Walter Walker is obviously in his debut he lost to Lucas Dritsky, which is really not a good look. I mean, I know he was out of shape. He was massive. He gassed out, looked terrible. Couldn't take him down. But yeah, and Louis Sutherland, he's a good striker. He knows how to throw kicks for a big, heavy guy. I believe he does train. I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure he trains with Tom Aspinall. He's got the weight advantage, but I do think he's got quite fast hands. He's got a few KOs in his record. Not too much to kind of point out in this fight. I would like to mention he does have 3 losses on his record, but he's never been finished. So I actually don't think Walter Walker is going to be able to finish him. I definitely don't see this fight going past. It's really hard to pick this one because on one hand I don't see this fight going the distance, but I don't see Walter Walker being able to finish him. So I'm going to pick Louis Sutherland to win by a round 1 KO. I know that's going to shock a lot of people, but I think he's got good power in the hands. Um, Walker's overconfident. I think he believes he's going to walk through this guy and get a heel hook. I can see him dropping for a heel hook and not getting it, and Sutherland just ground and pounding him and sleeping him. So yeah, I'm going to pick Louis Sutherland to win by round 1 KO. Again, you got to pick the underdog sometimes. You can't pick all favorites. That's how this fight game goes, you know. I mean, I picked so many favorites last weekend, and that went horribly for me. So yeah, I will be picking Louis Sutherland by round 1 KO. Fight number 7 of the night. This is a super awesome fight, super exciting fight. I can't wait for this one. Ludovic Klein versus Mateusz Rombatsky. Yeah, this is. I think this is going to be the fight of the night. Ludovic Klein, you know, he's a good kickboxer. He's got power in his hands. He was in a 7-fight unbeaten streak until his last loss to Mateusz Gamrot, which is something to point out. He does have a decent amount of momentum. I believe the Gamrot fight was short notice too, so you're not really taking too much away from him. Obviously, we know his game. He likes to strike. He doesn't do great against wrestlers. But yeah, in that 7-fight unbeaten streak, he's had wins over some pretty good names. You know, Mason Jones, you know, he's on a good win streak, coming back into the UFC now. Ignacio Bahamondes, Thiago Moises. So he's beating good guys, but then on the other hand, he's getting submitted by freaking Nate Landwehr, dude. You know, not taking anything away from Nate the Train, but yeah, I don't know. He's got some strange losses in his record, but he's beaten really high level guys. So, but I do think he's improved since that loss to Landwehr. Not that that matters. Yeah, and he's going up against Mateusz Rombatsky. Yeah, obviously he's one of the most exciting fighters in the lightweight division. Super chaotic striker, good wrestler. He's got power in his hands. He loves to scrap. He's coming off 2 fight of the night performances against Mektabek Oralbai and Chris Duncan. He did take a lot of damage in both of those fights though, and obviously before that he fought Diego Ferreira, where he got fucking pretty badly beaten up too. So this guy, you know, in his last 3 fights, he's been fucking beaten up, dude. Although he's lost 2 of them, he's made it really competitive. You know, he's not going out there to win a decision. You know, he's trying to finish the fight at all times, and I think that can get the better of him at times if he doesn't finish you. I believe this is Mike Tyson quote. If you try to go for the finish and you don't finish your opponent, you're probably going to lose by decision. And I think that's the case with Rombatsky. If he doesn't finish Klein in the first 2 rounds, I do think he's going to lose by decision. Klein's a pretty tough guy. I don't think he's ever been KO'd in his career. Yeah, but I do think Rombatsky's key to winning this fight is the wrestling. Obviously, he loves to strike, but he is a really good wrestler. Yeah, I do think it will go to the ground at some point, though. Um, and I'm actually going to pick Ludovic Klein to win by decision here. If Rombatsky doesn't get him out of there in the first round or 2, like I said, he's going to win. He's going to lose, by decision. And I think, yeah, he's taken a lot of damage in his last few fights. Klein I think he's pretty motivated coming off a loss to a top guy in the division. He wants to get back in there. Yeah, I don't see Rombatsky playing it too safe in this fight, but if he uses wrestling, he will definitely win. But I just don't see that. He loves to scrap. He's a scrapper. He's a born fighter. And yeah, I don't think he's going to get the finish against Klein. You know, he's pretty tough. Yeah, I'm just going around in circles here. But yeah, I am going to be picking Ludovic Klein to win by maybe a robbery decision. You know, we love a good robbery decision on this channel. Yeah, so I'm going to pick Ludovic Klein, 29-28 decision probably. I think that's the most likely outcome. I do love Rombatsky's style though. Fight number 8 of the night. Ikram Alaskera versus Jung Yong Park. We've got middleweight Islam versus Squid Game. We've got Jung Yong Park from the Squid Game. Yeah, you know, Alaskerov, he's a good boxer. He's got a good record. You know, something interesting to note is that his only 2 losses are to UFC champions, Rob Whittaker and Chimaev, on the regional scene, but both of them have been by KO. I do think he can beat guys, you know, below the top 5, top 10 kind of, you know, area of the middleweight division. And he's, yeah, he's going to lose. Excuse me. I don't think. Yeah. Well, I think he's going to lose to guys in the top 5, top 10 area, but he's going to smoke someone who is, an average fighter in the middleweight division, someone outside of that ranking area. And I do think that's the case with Jung Young Park. Obviously, Aliskerov's coming off that KO of Muniz. Pretty impressive. I mean, Muniz is quite chinny, but he looked good in that fight. And Jung Young Park, he's tough, he's well-rounded. He's good at finding the back. I like his boxing style. He's quite scrappy. Doesn't have much power, though. He does like to win by submission. That is his route to winning. Obviously, we saw his last fight against... what was the guy's name? Man, I'm forgetting. The Russian gentleman who represents Morocco. I'm forgetting his name. I apologise to you, sir, whoever you are. But yeah, the thing that I want to point out in this fight especially is that Jung Young Park has lost to Andre Muniz, a guy that Aliskerov has knocked out in round 1. He's only been knocked out once, though, by Robocop. I don't think he's going to be tough enough to not be finished by Aliskerov. So I'm going to pick Aliskerov by... It's tough, though, because he does have good KO power. You know what? I'm actually going to pick... I was going to pick him by decision, but I'm going to go out there and pick... Yeah, I'm going to pick Aliskerov by a round 2 TKO. I think he's going to get it done via ground and pound. Yep, that is my pick. I have decided Aliskerov is going to be winning by round 2 TKO. Next fight of the night. Now, this is a great fight, and you can tell from the odds. Another pick and fight. We've got Nasrat Haqparast versus Quillan Salkiel, mate. Fucking mate. This guy, Quillan Salkiel, is a fucking legend, mate. He's taking this fight on a week's notice, He's just a fucking goat, mate. Rounding off the prelims, this is the featured fight of the prelims. We've got Nasrat Haqparast, Quillan Salkiel. This is a close fight, As I mentioned, Haqparast, he's on a 5-fight win streak, so he does have a lot of momentum going into this fight. He's a good boxer. He's not the most exciting guys, but he does have a lot more experience than Salkiel. He's undefeated in the UFC, though. He represents the new generation of fighters. He can take the fight anywhere and win fairly comfortably. He's a tough guy. He's got good power in the hands. Obviously, he KO'd the GOAT, Anshul Jubilee. Do not redeem. And we saw his grappling skills in his last fight against Yanal Ashmouz. It really impressed me. I think he really did want to test himself in the grappling department. He took him down, kind of dominated the first round, but then, he struggled in the third round. Took a few big shots, but he was able to tough it out and win by decision. That really showed a lot in terms of his skill set. I do think he could have finished the fight if he wanted to, but I think he wanted to, like I said, test himself, take the fight to a hard-fought decision. The only thing that concerns me about this fight, obviously I'm biased to my Aussie NZ fighters, and I want Salkiel to win. But excuse me. I just think that the fight, he's taken it on, I don't even think 2 weeks' notice, maybe a week and a half. I think he's a super talented guy. He's still really young in the division and in his career and his age. I think he's 25 years old, super talented, but I just think that he is fighting a level of competition that is a bit too high for him, especially coming on short notice. I do think if he had a full camp, I think he could definitely beat Haqparast. But I am going to pick Haqparast to win. I could actually see Salkiel getting TKO'd, maybe around 3 TKO, or Haqparast by, kind of a 30-27 dominant decision where Salkiel takes some big shots, gets taken down, but toughs it out and, loses a decision all 3 rounds. I'm actually going to go for Haqparast by 30-27 decision. That is my pick for the main fight of the prelims. The featured fight of the prelims, excuse me. Main card, here we go. We got Alexander Rakic versus Azamat Mirzakhanov starting off the main card. Rakic, he's a powerful athletic guy. He will have a huge reach advantage in this fight. I believe 7 inches. Let's have a look here. Yeah, well, yeah, he's going to have a 7 inch reach advantage and a 6 inch height advantage. Um, yeah, he is, however, on a 3 fight losing streak. Doesn't have any momentum heading into this fight. It's kind of a must win for him. I mean, I still don't understand how he's been ranked in the top 8 of the division. He hasn't really won a fight in the last 3, maybe 4 years. So yeah, a bit confusing. But anyway, he's going up against Azamat Murzakanov, who has all the momentum in the world heading into this fight. He does look like a melted ice cream cone, but he's 5'10 for 205, so not too much to point out there. He's got 11 KOs. He's undefeated, like I said. Yeah, he's got very fast hands. That left hand he's got is really powerful. I believe he's a southpaw. So yeah, he's got that left power hand, which is very dangerous. He's KO'd quite a few guys in the UFC with that. Yeah, I do think that Murzakanov will get this fight done in round 2 with a KO. So yeah, that is my pick for the first fight of the main card, Azamat Murzakanov by round 2 TKO. Yeah, I just don't see how Rakic is able to win this fight. So yeah, next fight of the main card, we've got Alexander Volkov versus Jailton Almeida. Now, this is your typical striker versus grappler matchup. We've got Alexander Volkov. Obviously, we all know this guy. He's massive, tallest heavyweight in the division. He's 6'7". He's got a super long reach. He's a rangy striker. We've seen him get submitted before. I do think this could play a factor in this fight, especially going up against a guy like Jailton Almeida, who, as we know, is a super strong grappler. He's got great wrestling, great top control, but he doesn't have the greatest submission finishing, offense, however you want to say it, especially against the top level guys. Obviously, he had that horrible fight with Derek Lewis where he had Mount for about 25 minutes and didn't really do anything with it. So I don't think he's going to be able to submit Volkov. I mean, he's only been submitted by, Tom Aspinall, I believe, in the UFC. I think that's the only guy who's submitted him. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be picking Almeida to win this fight, as he is the minus 225 favorite. I think a lot of people are going to pick him by submission, probably. But I'm going to pick Volkov. I do think this fight is going to go a similar way to the Almeida-Curtis Blades fight. I think Volkov will have a tough first round. Almeida's going to start off strong, looking for the finish. I think he's going to try and get an arm triangle maybe from Mount. I do think he will be able to take him down quite easily, as Volkov is a really tall guy. He's going to chop that tree. But I do think in the second round, like I said, it's going to go similar to the Curtis Blades fight. Possibly exactly the same, elbows up against the fence while Almeida's trying to get Volkov to the ground. But either way, I do think Volkov is going to get this fight done by a round 2 TKO, probably ground and pound, maybe on the feet, we'll see. But yeah, that is my pick for this fight. I've got Volkov to win a bit of an upset, round 2 TKO, and he gets the winner of Aspinall Gane. Next fight of the night, featured fight. We've got Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Batista, who's a huge favorite going into this fight, which I'm not surprised. I mean, Batista, he's got a way more momentum heading into this fight. But yeah, Umar, he just came off the loss to Merab earlier this year in the title fight. We kind of gassed out, had a strong first few rounds. And yeah, I've been saying this, like, Umar, despite losing to Merab, it was a close fight, and I do think he's the only guy at this point who can beat Dvalishvili. And I think if he gets a finish in this fight, they're going to put him straight back in there sometime early next year if Dvalishvili beats Jan in December, which I think he will. Yeah, obviously Nurmagomedov, he's Khabib's cousin. He's a great wrestler, but he does have really underrated striking. He's got a few KOs. He's got kind of awkward striking. He's got some really good kicks. I think he does perhaps have a karate background. The way he flicks those kicks up, they're really interesting. He likes a good side kick, lead head kick. Yeah, straight punches. Yeah, he's a good little well-rounded guy, super high level. And he's going up against my guy, the GOAT, Mario Bautista, who is on an 8-fight win streak, quietly making his way up the division. He's a decision machine, though, but he's beaten some really good guys, despite the fact that people hate this guy. Obviously he left a sour taste in people's mouth after the Aldo fight. People say it was a robbery, it was bullshit, he just held him against the fence. But, the thing that bothers me about that is, like, Volkanovski did the exact same thing to Aldo. and no one mentions that. Volk invented the blueprint for beating Aldo. Obviously we saw Marab do it too, but it's like no one gave Volk shit for that at all. People just act like that didn't happen. But when a guy like Mario does it, who's not that popular, and he's quiet, and he's, you know, still a high level guy, but I don't think he's even going to be a champion. Everyone seems to fucking think he's like the terrorist of the sport. Yeah. So yeah, obviously 8 fight win streak, some good wins in there. Obviously coming off the win of Apache Mix, who looked absolutely shocking in that fight. Didn't move his head, just kind of stood around for 15 minutes and let Mario piece him up. So I mean, Apache Mix obviously is a good fighter. He had some good wins in Bellator, but I don't really rate that win that highly. I think I did pick Bautista to win that fight anyway, which a lot of people were surprised by. But yeah, I think this is going to be not a close fight. I think a lot of people will be thinking it's going to go to decision, whatever, which I do think will probably happen. But I think I'm actually going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to pick. Nah, you know what? I've been second guessing myself in a lot of these last videos. So yeah, I am going to be picking Nurmagomedov by decision. I'm not going to overthink this one. Umar 29-28 decision. Mario is going to be a tough guy to finish. I don't think he's been finished in about 5 years. Obviously, he's got that armbar loss to Sandhagen. I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But yeah, Nurmagomedov is going to win. Obviously, Dana said in the press conference, if you go out there and finish this fight and look impressive, I'm going to put you in the next title shot. But I don't think he's going to be able to finish Bautista. I do think it will be a dominant decision win for him, though. Probably a 29-28. I do think Bautista has the talent to win a round. Maybe he's going to get him down and like almost submit him, and the commentary is going to be going crazy. Oh my God, this is a huge moment for Bautista, and then Umar's just going to get back up and keep striking with him. Yeah, I do think that Nurmagomedov is better pretty much everywhere the fight goes, despite Bautista being really talented. So yeah. Again, not overthinking this one. Umar Nurmagomedov, 29-28 decision. Co-main event of the evening. We've got Virna Jandiroba, Raul Rosas Jr. versus Mackenzie Dern. Yeah, this is their second fight. They've fought before, maybe 5 years ago, I believe. Mackenzie Dern. Excuse me. Mackenzie Dern, obviously great BJJ. She's tough, not the best striker, but I think she's decent enough. She's training with Jason Perillo, who's a great boxing coach. So yeah, she's pretty tough. She's coming off a 2-fight win streak over Lupe Godinez and Amanda Ribas. Obviously, like I said, she does have a win over Jandiroba in the past, which I do think will give her quite a bit of confidence going into this fight. Despite the fact that they have kind of had different career trajectories since that fight. Obviously, Jandiroba's been on this crazy win streak since then. I believe she's won 6 in a row, something like that. But I still think that means something. Obviously, yeah, Dern's taken quite a few losses since then. And yeah, if you look at common opponents that they've faced, I mean, Jandiroba beat Yan Xiaonan. Dern lost her by decision. She dominated Amanda Lemos and submitted her, and I believe Dern beat her by fairly close decision. Yeah, if you're just looking at the common opponents, Jandiroba has done way better against them. If she hasn't won, if she hasn't, yeah, I think you guys get what I'm saying. She's beaten girls that Dern has lost to. She's a tough grappler. She does have better wrestling than Dern, which I think will play a factor in this fight. Obviously, Mackenzie, she's the UFC sweetheart. They're promoting her. I think they want her to be champion. But I'm going to pick Virna Jandiroba to win this fight. I think she's just a bit tougher. She's a bit more hungry. She's on a good win streak. She's got a good amount of momentum going into this fight. I think she's going to make it gritty. I think it will be a boring fight. She's going to take her down, get the top control, look for ground and pound, look for submissions. I do think Dern is going to tough it out. Like I said, she's only been knocked out once. I don't think that's going to play a factor, obviously, with Jandiroba being a grappler as well. But yeah, I'm actually going to pick the underdog, I believe. Yeah, well, it's pretty much a pick 'em, but I'm going to be picking Virna Jandiroba to win this fight by a 49-46 decision. I do think Dern may be able to almost submit her, but Jandiroba will tough it out and get the fight done with her top control, her pressure, maybe a bit of pressure boxing mixed in there too. And yeah, I'm going to pick the probably more of an upset than some fights on this card, despite the odds. Yeah, Virna Jandiroba will win this fight by 49-46 decision. Main event of the evening. Now, I've got a lot to say about this fight. We've got Tom Aspinall against Cyril Gane. Now, one thing I'm going to mention about this is I'm not a fan of Cyril Gane. Not necessarily his fighting style. You know, he's a skilled guy. He's a great kickboxer. Obviously, you know, he's been in the top 5 for a number of years now. I just don't like the way that he'll kind of get destroyed and, you know, take a year off and, you know, he's filming movies and all this stuff, and it doesn't seem like his mind's in the right place. Yeah, and, you know, he'll get an easy win against a guy in Paris, he'll bounce back, and then he'll kind of get destroyed again in a title fight. Although he's only had 2 losses, he did brutally rob Alexander Volkov in his last fight, excuse me, which was about a year ago, which I think left a sour taste in everyone's mouths. And obviously, we've got the Volkov Almeida fight on this main card, and I do think that if Volkov wins and Gane wins, they're going to instantly book Volkov versus Gane too. Yeah, because I do think Volkov got a bit effed in that fight. I'm not sure what the judges saw, but yeah. Yeah, Tom Aspinall, we all know the deal with this guy. He's got a bunch of round 1 finishes. He's got crazy power in the hands. He's a super big heavyweight, moves like a middleweight. You know, we've all heard this spiel before. Great grappling. The only thing that I want to point out about this is that he's inexperienced. He doesn't have the 5-round experience. So there's a lot of question marks about this fight. You know, we haven't seen him go 5 rounds. Whereas with Gane, we have seen him go 5 rounds. He does have the 5-round experience. He hasn't, you know, he's only been finished by the GOAT, John Jones. You know, he went 5 rounds with Ngannou. He finished Derek Lewis. He's been an interim champion, so he does have a lot more championship experience than Aspinall, which I think a lot of people are overlooking. You know, I know that probably 99% of the public is like, oh, fuck, Gane's got no chance. This guy's going to get fucking destroyed. And I disagree. I really don't think that he is going to just get smoked in like 1 minute, like guys like, you know, Curtis Blaze, etc., etc. Despite the fact that Aspinall's been doing this to everyone, I think people are forgetting that Gane has the championship experience. He looks in the best shape of his life. Yeah, I don't see him getting finished in the first round, but I still definitely think Tom Aspinall is going to win. He's a younger guy. Obviously less experience, like I said, but he's more athletic. I do think Gane's striking is slightly better. Obviously, he's a great kickboxer. He's got that experience there, but obviously on the ground, there's no competition. However, you know, I am saying that he's not going to get destroyed, but I don't see this fight going past the 3rd round. So I am going to be picking Tom Aspinall by a round 2, probably a late round 2 submission or early round 3 submission. I definitely think he's going to be able to get the fight to the ground and submit him. But there is a lot of pressure on Aspinall. Like, if he doesn't destroy Gane, I think a lot of people are going to be, you know, kind of ridiculing him, or I think John Jones will be brought up in the post-fight press conference. And if he loses, it's going to be really bad. It's going to look terrible for his stock, the UFC stock, and then I think John Jones is just going to come back and be like, all right, well, I've got to come out of retirement now. I've beaten this fucking guy already for the heavyweight belt. You know, I can do it again, right? Yeah, and I think he's going to be talking a lot of shit about Tom. But yeah, I just don't see a world where that happens at all. And yeah, I just think Tom and Aspinall, I think he's going to, you know, he's going to look good early on. Gane's going to tough it out, take some big shots. I don't see him getting KO'd though, which is one thing I want to point out. And yeah, like I said, my pick will be Tom Aspinall I'm going to go round 2 submission. But I don't think he's going to get destroyed as hard as people think. So yeah, those are my picks for UFC 321, Aspinall versus Gane. Yeah, I'm looking forward to these fights this weekend. I'm waking up at 3 a.m. to watch these fights, New Zealand time. That's when the prelims start. So I'm committed. I'm committed. I'm watching every fight, and I hope I do a lot better on my picks this week. As you know, last week, let's just put that behind us, guys. Yeah, didn't do really well. Only got 3 out of 13 right, but that's beside the point. It's a new week. It's a great night of fights. Especially looking forward to that main event. There's a lot of question marks around it. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe. Please leave a like. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the video, what I can improve on. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.